The summer sun streamed lazily through the tall windows of Roosevelt Middle School's classroom as the chatter of students mingled with the dust motes dancing in the warm light. In the midst of the typical clamor that marked the beginning of each school day, a particular remark was about to alter the course of one young boy's life, and the way his classmates perceived him. It was a day like any other for Nathan Thompson. He was a slight, quiet eighth grader who often favored observation over boisterous participation. Yet, behind his rumpled clothes, matted hair, and nervous eyes, there lay a secret that would one day change the way everyone saw him. The bell had barely rung that morning when Nathan's friend Marcus smugly announced, loud enough for nearly everyone to hear, "My dad works at NASA." The statement came out during a heated conversation about whose family held the most impressive jobs, and the entire class burst into raucous laughter. Nathan, sitting near the back of the room, felt his heart race as jeers and mocking imitations of the phrase filled the air. It was not that he doubted the accomplishments of NASA employees, rather, the words had struck a chord with him, and the memory of living a double life he had so carefully concealed for years. All he had ever done was try to blend in and be like everyone else. But that morning, his secret, buried deep inside his soul, stirred in response to Marcus's careless brag. After lunch, while other students milled about the playground and the cafeteria, Nathan remained alone behind the gym. His troubled eyes followed the laughter as it echoed through the corridors. His mind raced with anxious uncertainty, troubled by the taunts and the stinging irony of someone else claiming a connection to grand achievements. For Nathan, though, that familiar phrase evoked memories of hushed phone calls he made in his dimly lit room late at night, of heartbeats synchronized with the ticking of a clock as he dreamt of stars and science. His father's work was not the stuff of ordinary conversation, it was a legacy hidden beneath layers of both pride and secrecy. Even in a modest household on the outskirts of town, Nathan's father, who had once been a brilliant engineer with dreams as vast as the cosmos, had been the quiet hero behind many secret missions. For Nathan, however, that legacy was something he had learned to keep hidden, fearing that the truth might isolate him from his peers even more than his seemingly ordinary background had already done. Nathan's world, once defined by a careful routine of homework and daydreams, was about to be shattered, and rebuilt in directions he could scarcely imagine. The next morning, the tension in the classroom was palpable as Mrs. Parker, the gentle yet perceptive science teacher, started the lesson with an unusual announcement. "Class," she said in a measured tone, "I would like you to welcome our guest speaker today. A man with an extraordinary career who has spent much of his life exploring the frontiers of space. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Andrew Mitchell." Murmurs of excitement rose among the students. Nathan's stomach churned involuntarily. His pulse quickened as he realized with a sinking feeling that the man stepping through the doorway was no random visitor. The details Mrs. Parker had hinted at struck him like a bolt of lightning. Mr. Mitchell was tall and distinguished, wearing a crisp navy suit and a warm smile that belied an impressive career. As he strode to the front of the class, every eye fixed on him with an intensity that seemed to burn with both awe and silent questions. "Good morning, everyone," Mr. Mitchell began, his voice resonant and inviting as he surveyed the classroom. "I'm Andrew Mitchell, and I have had the honor of working with NASA for many years on projects that have pushed the boundaries of what we understand about space." His words left a stunned hush in the room. Whispers spread like wildfire, the same words that once had been a punchline now resonated with an undeniable gravity. Some students exchanged glances, while others sat with their mouths agape. Nathan's heart pounded as he sat rooted, torn between relief and the weight of his own unspoken secret. His mind raced back over years of careful concealment, each memory punctuated by the fear of being exposed and ridiculed. Now, the man who occupied that elevated pedestal in the classroom was a living testament to that very idea. Mr. Mitchell's presence was not a mere coincidence. Mrs. Parker had known of the young boy's turbulent feelings surrounding his father's work, a secret that Nathan had guarded so fiercely. As Mr. Mitchell began recounting his own journey from a curious child gazing at the stars to a dedicated professional in one of the world's most respected agencies, Nathan felt as if a dormant part of him stirred awake. Page by page, Mr. Mitchell revealed stories of arduous training, groundbreaking discoveries, and moments of danger interwoven with beauty among distant galaxies. His voice was a blend of nostalgia and humility, capturing the hearts of those who listened avidly. "Sometimes," Mr. Mitchell said at one point, "our greatest achievements are not marked by the accolades we receive but by the quiet conviction that we are part of something far greater than ourselves." The sentiment resonated with Nathan more deeply than anyone could have guessed. As the class delved deeper into questions about space travel, rocket engineering, and the rigors of exploration, Nathan's inner turmoil began to settle into a simmering determination. The earlier ridicule he had witnessed now felt like a distant memory, one that transformed into a potent reminder of the power of truth. In that moment, as Mr. Mitchell fielded questions from wide-eyed students, Nathan decided that he could no longer remain a silent bystander in a story that was half his own. During the break following the presentation, a group of students gathered around Mr. Mitchell near the reception desk. The conversation was animated, brimming with admiration and curiosity. Even Marcus, whose earlier boast had ignited the day's sequence of events, joined in, nervously chuckling as he tried to diminish the allure of false bragging rights. "So, Mr. Mitchell," Marcus began hesitantly, "did you really get to travel to space?" His tone was half in jest, half in genuine interest, and his eyes were alight with the thrill of being part of something extraordinary. Mr. Mitchell smiled warmly. "Yes, I had the opportunity to journey beyond our home planet, to see Earth from a perspective few ever do. And believe me, it changes you in ways you can't imagine." The words hung in the air, and while many of the eager students absorbed every syllable, Nathan felt a quiet storm gathering within him. Unable to withstand the pull any longer, Nathan approached Mr. Mitchell as the crowd slowly dispersed. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Sir, I have something I'd like to say. I know what it's like to feel like you have to hide parts of who you are because you're afraid of what people might think." His eyes, reflecting both hope and vulnerability, searched Mr. Mitchell's face for any sign of recognition. The moment felt suspended in time, as though the entire world were waiting for an extraordinary revelation. Mr. Mitchell's smile deepened, and he nodded encouragingly. "Nathan, why don't you tell me what's on your mind?" In that instant, Nathan's resolve overtook his fear. "My dad, he works at NASA," he said softly, every word laced with the weight of years spent concealing the truth. I'm proud of him, but I've always been afraid to say it out loud because everyone laughed." His confession, spoken in a whisper that carried centuries of hope and hurt, hung in the space between them. Mr. Mitchell's eyes shone with empathy and understanding. "Nathan, thank you for trusting me with something so personal," he said gently. "You know, every person who works in a place like NASA has a story. Your father's work is extraordinary, and you should be proud to be a part of that legacy, even if you aren't in the spotlight. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in embracing who we are without fear of judgment." Nathan felt as though a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. The kindness in Mr. Mitchell's voice was like a salve to the wounds inflicted by years of insecurity. For the rest of the day, whispers and sidelong glances faded in the wake of a new understanding, a quiet revolution sparked by one boy's courage to speak his truth. In the days that followed, the transformation within the classroom was palpable. Where once ridicule might have echoed, now there was a tentative air of respect and admiration. Marcus, who had once smugly declared his fabricated claims, found himself grappling with guilt for having contributed to the laughter. During recess, he approached Nathan with hesitant eyes, saying, "Hey, Nathan, I'm sorry about what I said. I didn't realize it meant so much." Nathan simply smiled, a quiet yet powerful acknowledgement that sometimes words, however rash, could be redeemed by genuine remorse. The apology was a small step in the slow process of healing wounds inflicted by ignorance, and it marked the beginning of a deeper friendship where honesty and mutual understanding were prized above superficial bravado. Outside the classroom, whispers of Nathan's confession began to ripple through the halls of Roosevelt Middle School. For many, the revelation that his father, a man whose achievements had once been the subject of parodic imitation, actually held a prestigious position at NASA was both inspiring and humbling. Teachers spoke in hushed tones of the profound impact that truth and vulnerability could have when revealed in the simplest of declarations. Nathan's journey became a quiet emblem of authenticity, a reminder that sometimes the very things we try to hide are what make us truly extraordinary. In the weeks that followed, Nathan became more confident in expressing pride about his father's accomplishments. During science club meetings, he would share stories of late-night talks and secret glimpses into his dad's work, recounting with wide-eyed wonder how rockets soared into the heavens and how each mission was a beacon of humanity's thirst for knowledge. Slowly but surely, the echoes of laughter faded, replaced by an undercurrent of respect and curiosity. It was during one of those rainy afternoons, as the droplets danced against the window pane, that Mrs. Parker announced a special project for the class. "I want you all to pursue a topic that inspires you," she said, her eyes scanning the room that buzzed with energy. "Research something you truly believe in, something that touches your heart, and create a presentation about it." The assignment was open-ended, designed to stir passion and spark independent thought, and it offered every student the chance to take control of their narrative. For Nathan, the project became an opportunity to honor his father in his own way, a chance to showcase the wonder and mystery of space exploration that had secretly captivated his imagination since childhood. In the quiet solitude of his room, long after the rest of the family had retired for the night, Nathan pored over books and articles about NASA's historic missions. The soft glow of his desk lamp illuminated pages filled with technical diagrams, heroic tales of astronauts, and accounts of daring launches that defied the boundaries of human understanding. Each piece of information was a puzzle piece that stitched together a tapestry of dreams and possibilities, and as he delved deeper, Nathan's heart soared. His presentation gradually took shape. A heartfelt tribute that blended scientific rigor with the emotional landscape of a boy who had come to understand the true meaning of greatness. He included photographs of Saturn V rockets, sketches of distant planets, and even recorded interviews with engineers who had dedicated their lives to exploring the cosmos. But more than the technical details, Nathan's project was imbued with his own narrative, a memoir of the quiet night spent listening to his father speak about the miracles of space, of shared secrets and unspoken promises that exemplified the passion driving every mission. When the day of the presentation finally arrived, the classroom was arranged with a solemn respect that substituted the usual hurried energy of a school day with one of earnest anticipation. Classmates took their seats, whispering to one another in anticipation, while Mrs. Parker observed with a proud, maternal smile. Nathan's hands trembled slightly as he connected his laptop to the classroom's projector, the memories of humiliating laughter from just weeks before now transformed into a source of quiet strength. The lights dimmed, and on the large screen, images of the universe and daring feats of engineering slowly emerged. Taking a deep breath, Nathan began to speak with a steady and clear voice. "My dad works at NASA," he said, allowing the familiar words to resound not as a personal boast but as an opening to a story that was as much his as anyone else's. He recounted the moments of wonder he experienced as a child, a time when the night sky, with its infinite array of stars, felt like a secret waiting to be discovered. He spoke of the challenges his father faced, the sacrifices made in pursuit of dreams that many in their field might find unattainable. With each word, Nathan dismantled the notion that greatness belonged only to those born into privilege or forced upon the spotlight. Instead, he illustrated that true achievement was nurtured in quiet moments, in the silent determination to pursue excellence despite the weight of the world's expectations. His narrative touched on science and history, on the awe-inspiring missions that had changed how we saw ourselves in the vast tapestry of the cosmos, and on the personal journey of learning to embrace one's authenticity. As he concluded, the classroom was silent for a heartbeat, a silence loaded with the recognition of vulnerability and the power that comes from unfiltered truth. Then, in a spontaneous outpouring, the room erupted into applause that was both thunderous and sincere. In the days, weeks, and months that followed Nathan's project, an unmistakable change swept through Roosevelt Middle School. His once derided identity had become a banner for all those who had ever felt marginalized by the judgments of others. Nathan became an unexpected role model, a symbol of the strength that arises when one trusts in the stories that define us. Teachers invited him to share his journey in school assemblies. Students who once had sneered at the idea of a NASA connection now crowded around him, eager to learn more about the mysteries of space. Even Marcus, who had once laughed so easily, began to ask questions and listen with genuine interest when Nathan recounted anecdotes about rocket launches and the marvels of scientific exploration. In these conversations, there was no trace of the earlier mockery, only a profound respect for a truth that had finally come to light. Beyond the confines of the classroom, Nathan's newfound courage began to ripple outward. His father, long accustomed to maintaining a modest silence about his career, noticed the subtle transformation in his son. One quiet evening, as they sat together on the back porch beneath a sky littered with stars, his father placed a gentle hand on Nathan's shoulder. "I'm proud of you, son," he said softly, his voice imbued with equal measures of love and admiration. "Not because of what I do, but because of who you are, and the way you've learned to stand tall despite everyone doubting you." Those words, spoken with the sincerity of a lifetime's work, cemented Nathan's sense of self-worth. In that moment, the quiet legacy of space exploration, once veiled in secrecy and personal shame, burst forth as a guiding light for both father and son. Over time, the events of that unforgettable school year came to be seen as a turning point, a moment when vulnerability had transformed into strength and ridicule had given way to respect. Graduations passed, and Nathan's name began to surface in conversations far beyond the halls of Roosevelt Middle School. He was invited to speak at local community centers, to share his story of transformation and the beauty of embracing one's heritage, no matter how unassuming it might seem. News outlets picked up the tale of the boy whose father worked at NASA, a story that transcended the superficial trappings of fame and instead celebrated the enduring human spirit that lies beneath. Nathan's narrative served as a reminder to many: behind every proud declaration lay a story of perseverance, of nights spent chasing dreams across an expanse of uncertainty and possibility. In college, while pursuing a degree in astrophysics, a path that felt like the natural evolution of the dreams he had nurtured since childhood, Nathan encountered moments of doubt. There were times when the weight of expectations, both external and self-imposed, threatened to crush the fragile flame of passion within him. But whenever he felt himself faltering, he would recall Mr. Mitchell's kind words and Mrs. Parker's unwavering support, as well as that pivotal moment when he had finally spoken his truth in front of an entire class. He remembered the way the applause had resonated like a promise, and in those memories, he found strength to keep forging ahead. With each passing semester, his understanding of the universe deepened, and he began to contribute to groundbreaking research on celestial phenomena. The work was challenging and at times isolating, yet every discovery, every glimpse of understanding, reinforced the lesson that the universe is defined not by barriers but by bridges, the very bridges that connect past to future and dream to reality. During one crisp autumn evening at an intercollegiate conference, Nathan was invited to present his team's findings on the behavior of distant nebulae. The auditorium was filled with esteemed scientists, eager to learn about the research that promised to expand the boundaries of known science. As he made his way to the podium, his mind wandered back to those early days in middle school, to the bitterness of laughter transformed by the sanity of truth. With deliberate care, he began to explain his work, using metaphors of stardust and the infinite dance of energy, to illustrate that what appears chaotic is often a prelude to perfection. The speech was met with a quiet awe, and when he concluded, there was a moment of silence that spoke louder than any accolade. In that silence, Nathan could hear the echo of the laughter that once had haunted him, transmuted now into a rallying cry for curiosity and dedication, a message that even the smallest voice, when given the chance to speak, could move mountains and illuminate galaxies. Years came and went, filled with achievements that range from published papers in prestigious journals to understated moments of quiet mentorship with apprentices of science. Nathan returned often to his alma mater, not as a timid boy burdened with secrets, but as a confident young man whose journey underscored the transformative power of authenticity. During one memorable reunion at Roosevelt Middle School, he found himself recounting his experiences to a new batch of eager students. "Never be afraid," he told them, his eyes twinkling with the recollections of a long-fought battle against insecurity, "to claim your truth. Even if the whole world laughs at you at first, remember that every great discovery began as the quiet whisper of a dream. His words, simple yet profound, resonated in a way that transcended the boundaries of time and circumstance, igniting sparks of hope in every listening heart. Back in his hometown, life continued to weave its intricate tapestry of small joys and profound lessons. Nathan's father, once a quiet man who shunned the spotlight, had long since embraced his role as an inspiration not only to his son but to everyone who understood that greatness often resided in the humble shadows of everyday life. Together, they visited local schools and community events, sharing moments that reminded people that every individual, regardless of background or circumstance, carried within them a universe waiting to be explored. It was in these unassuming moments, over cups of steaming coffee and quiet conversations, that the legacy of NASA and the cosmos blossomed anew in the hearts of those who had long forgotten the simple magic of curiosity. Then, one day, as Nathan walked down a tree-lined street on a brisk winter morning, he encountered a young girl with wide, inquisitive eyes pressed against the glass of a small bookshop display. The poster, prominently featuring a rocket blasting off into the deep unknown, seemed to speak directly to her heart. He knelt beside her and softly said, "Would you like to know a secret? One day, you might just find yourself touching the stars." In that moment, as her eyes lit up with a mixture of wonder and possibility, Nathan realized that the cycle of inspiration was far from complete. The simple truths he had once feared were now the very tools he used to kindle the flames of future dreamers. Each encounter served as a reminder that truth, when fearlessly shared, could transform not only one life but the lives of many. As the seasons turned time and the years continued their quiet march, Nathan became a living legend in his own right, a beacon of hope for those who struggled to reconcile the dichotomy between who they were and who society expected them to be. At conferences, on television interviews, and in quiet scholarly debates, his name invoked imagery of distant galaxies, of black holes and supernovae, and above all, of the delicate interplay between vulnerability and brilliance. But for Nathan, the pinnacle of his legacy was never found in awards or accolades. It was in the soft murmur of a classroom discussion, in the tearful thanks of a student who had once been ridiculed, in the gentle smile of a father passing on his cherished secrets to his child. It was in the quiet assurance that every laugh that had once been cruel had paved the road toward self-realization. In reflection, Nathan realized that his journey was shaped by those unexpected, pivotal moments, the day when a boastful claim in a fourth-grade classroom culminated in a visit from a revered NASA veteran, and the day when fear was overcome by the courage to speak one's truth. Those moments formed the mosaic of his life, a collage of laughter, sorrow, and ultimately, triumph. And even as he gazed at the stars from his modest backyard, remembering nights spent charting constellations with his father, he knew that the true universe lay within each person's heart, waiting to be discovered, appreciated, and celebrated. Now, as his own children played in the yard under the twinkling glow of a winter's sky, Nathan sat on the creaking porch swing, a gentle smile of contentment gracing his face. In the faint whispers of the wind, he could almost hear the echoes of that long-ago classroom, the laughter that once mocked his very identity, now fading into the background of a rich, affirming life. His journey had taught him that every life has its own rhythm, its own cadence, a melody that, if nurtured, could rise above ridicule and transform hearts. With a grateful heart, he whispered quietly to himself, "My dad worked at NASA, and so do I, in spirit, in passion, and in the endless pursuit of dreams beyond the limits of what is known." And in that whispered truth lay the silent promise that no matter how faint the voice might seem at first, it possesses the power to inspire whole universes into motion. Looking into the horizon where the night's velvet drape met the first blush of dawn, Nathan felt deeply that the laughter of that very first day had, in some mysterious way, set him free. It was the catalyst for a lifetime of discovery, both of the cosmos and of the untapped realms of the human spirit. Among the whispers of fading stars and the gentle murmur of everyday miracles, he understood that every laugh, every taunt, had been a stepping stone to something greater, a transformation that turned youthful insecurity into an unwavering beacon of hope. For in the quiet tapestry of time, all that truly matters is the courage to be seen, the strength to speak one's truth, and the relentless pursuit of a passion that transcends the ordinary. The legacy of that day, immortalized in a simple classroom conversation, continued to ripple through the lives of countless individuals over time. In boardrooms, in laboratories, in the hearts of dreamers and doers, Nathan's story was recounted as a testament to the power of authenticity. It reminded those who listened that pride and quiet determination were often the seeds from which greatness sprouted. With each retelling, the narrative evolved into a parable for the ages, a story that invited every listener to embrace their origins, to cast aside the shackles of ridicule, and to step boldly into a future filled with infinite possibilities. In the end, the man who had once sat, trembling in fear behind a wall of ridicule, had become an emblem of how a single statement could change the fabric of one's destiny. Nathan's journey was far more than a recollection of past hurts, it was an ongoing celebration of the subtle, persistent courage that transforms seemingly insignificant moments into the building blocks of a meaningful life. And as he looked back over decades of growth and triumph, he understood that true success was measured not in accolades or admiration but in the quiet certainty that one's authentic self had been laid bare for the world to see, flaws and all. As the chill of winter gave way to the soft promise of spring, Nathan continued to carry forward the legacy of that transformative chapter of his life. His story became a quiet hymn, a melody that resonated in the hearts of those who dared to embrace who they truly were and who looked to the stars with unbridled wonder. For every person who had ever felt small, overlooked, or ridiculed, Nathan's life was a reminder that greatness often blooms in the most unexpected places, and that the simple act of speaking one's truth can indeed move worlds. And so it was that the classroom laughter, once so cruel and scornful, transformed into a distant memory, a mere footnote in a grand narrative of human resilience and discovery. In that transformative silence, where the ordinary became extraordinary, the simple statement, "My dad works at NASA," evolved into a declaration of honor, unity, and hope. With every heartbeat and every starlit night, Nathan's legacy shone as a radiant beacon, illuminating the uncharted pathways for countless souls who dared to dream beyond the confines of their reality. This is a story not just of space and science, but of the profound journey that lies in the heart of every human being, the journey from timid silence to triumphant authenticity, from whispered secrets to resounding truths. It is a testament to the immutable fact that what we often consider to be a source of ridicule can, in time, become the very cornerstone of our strength and identity. And if one is brave enough to claim these fragments of truth as their own, then even the deepest scars of the past may one day reveal themselves as the most brilliant constellations in the tapestry of a life well lived. Now, as dusk settles gently over a world that never ceases to amaze, the memory of that fateful classroom day endures, a radiant spark in the night that continually reminds us to never be afraid to show our true colors. For the echoes of laughter have long since been transformed into the harmonious chords of a legacy that marches boldly onward into the uncharted realms of possibility, lighting the way for generations to come. And in that eternal interplay of light and shadow, of truth and hope, Nathan's story remains an ever-glowing testament to the power that lies in simply being oneself. Thus, as another day dawns and another child dares to dream in the quiet corridors of learning, the words, "My dad works at NASA," now carry with them a significance far greater than mere bravado. They serve as a reminder that sometimes what the world laughs at most fiercely is not the truth itself, but the burden of shame we attach to it. And when that truth is finally embraced, with all its imperfections and quiet brilliance, it becomes a force capable of changing not only one life but the entire universe of perception surrounding it. In that final, lingering moment before the curtain falls on another day of discovery, the stars above continue their silent dance, ever faithful witnesses to the power of dreams. And as Nathan's story weaves itself into the fabric of those distant lights, one truth remains undeniable, that every laugh, every tear, every courageous confession is part of a grand symphony, a symphony that reaffirms the immeasurable beauty of being true to oneself. And so, with hearts uplifted and eyes forever turned toward the infinite possibilities of tomorrow, the legacy of a simple classroom encounter lives on, a legacy that, through the relentless pulse of courage and the enduring strength of honesty, continues to inspire a world ready to embrace its own truth, to boldly cast aside the shadows of doubt, and to step into a future filled with endless light.